She had not opened the briefcase, but because of that briefcase, the most silent Korean mafia boss in Seoul felt fear for the first time, and when the poor waitress said, "I walked 40 miles to return it," Sha-Yun Kang looked at her like she had carried the most dangerous secret in the city with bare hands. Hannah Kim was working a double shift at the hotel Café that night. Not because she wanted to, because poor people do not always get to choose when they are tired. She wiped table 7, picked up 2 ants to keep moving. Her manager passed behind her and said, "Smile more. Rich customers complain less when poor girls smile." Hannah did not answer. She smiled. That was easier than losing her job. The glass doors opened. The cafe went quiet before Hannah even looked up. A young Korean man walked in, black suit, black shirt, no smile, no wasted movement. His face was calm but not soft. His eyes were cold in a way that made people lower their voices without knowing why. 2 men followed him inside. They did not look like customers. They looked like doors with guns hidden behind them. The manager straightened instantly. Rai, the kitchen boy, whispered from behind the counter, "Hannah." She glanced at him. "What? Table 7. I just cleaned it. I know. Give it to him." Hannah looked at the man again. He had already stopped, had been waiting for him. She picked up a menu and walked over. "Good evening, sir." The man did not sit yet. His eyes moved once across the cafe. Windows, exit, kitchen door, counter, then her. "Coffee," he said. Hannah waited. "Black?" Yes, that was all. 1 word. "No please, no thank you." But not rude either, just used to being obeyed. Hannah placed the menu down. "Anything else?" He sat no. His men stood near the entrance. One of them looked at the customers. The other looked at the street outside. Hannah walked back to the counter. Rai leaned closer. "Do you know who that is?" Hannah poured coffee. "No." Sha-Yun Kang. Her hand stopped for half a second. She had heard the name. Everyone in Seoul had. On television he was called a shipping billionaire. In newspapers he was called a private investor. In whispers he was called the young king of the Korean underworld. Hannah looked at him again. Sha-Yun Kang sat alone at table 7. A black leather briefcase rested beside his chair. Gold locks. Dragon mark. Heavy handle. It did not look like a bag. It looked like something people died before touching. Hannah took the coffee to him. She placed it on the table. His phone vibrated. He read the message. His face did not change, but his fingers stopped moving. For the first time, Hannah saw something behind his cold eyes. A calculation. A threat. A decision. Sha-Yun stood. One of his men immediately stepped forward. "Boss." Sha-Yun placed cash on the table. "Car." The guard nodded. Hannah stood back. Sha-Yun walked out without touching the coffee. His men followed him. Outside, a black car pulled up. The door opened. Sha-Yun entered. The car disappeared into traffic within seconds. The cafe slowly started breathing again. Customers talked. Hannah went to clear table 7. Coffee untouched. Cash on the tray. Napkin folded once. Then she saw it. The briefcase was still on the floor. Her hand froze. Rai looked up. "What?" She pointed down. Rai came fast, then stopped. His face lost color. "Hannah, move away." He forgot it. People like him do not forget things. "Then why is it here?" Rai did not answer. Hannah bent down. Rai grabbed her wrist. "Do not touch that." Hannah looked at his hand, then at him. "It belongs to him, and that is exactly why you should leave it. He may need it. He will send someone. What if someone else takes it first?" Rai looked toward the window, then back at the briefcase. "Call the police." Hannah looked at the briefcase, then at the receipt on the table. The card name was printed clearly. Sha-Yun Kang. Below it, a company address. Kang Tower, Seoul. Hannah pulled out her cracked phone. Battery, 6%. She typed the address. The screen loaded slowly. Then the distance appeared. 40 miles. Rai saw it. "No." Hannah said nothing. "No, Hannah." She lifted the briefcase. It was heavier than she expected. Her arm dropped. She held it with both hands. Rai stared at her. "You are not thinking what I think you are thinking. I am returning it. 40 miles. I will find a way. You have no taxi money." "I will walk." Rai laughed once, not because it was funny, because it was impossible. "You are working a double shift. You can barely stand. I can still walk." The manager noticed them. "What are you two doing?" Hannah turned. "This customer forgot his briefcase. I need to return it." The manager looked at the briefcase, then at her. "You need to serve table 4. It belongs to Sha-Yun Kang." The manager's anger changed into fear, then greed. "Leave it in my office." Hannah held it tighter. "No." His eyes sharpened. "What did you say?" "I will return it myself." The manager stepped closer. "You are a waitress. You do not decide what happens in my cafe." Hannah's voice stayed low. "But I decide what happens in my hands." A few customers turned to watch. The manager smiled without warmth. "If you walk out now, do not come back tomorrow." Hannah looked at the tables, the cups, the counter, her apron, then the briefcase. She untied the apron and placed it on the chair. "I understand," Rai whispered. "Hannah." She looked at him. His eyes were worried. "Do not do this." Hannah's answer was quiet. "If I leave it here and something happens, I will remember that for the rest of my life." Rai had no reply. Hannah picked up the briefcase again. The handle pressed hard into her palm. She walked out of the hotel cafe. Behind her, the manager called, "Poor girls should not act noble." Nobility does not pay. Hannah stopped for 1 second. Then she kept walking. Outside, the evening sun had not fully gone down. Traffic moved slowly. People passed her without caring. Hannah looked at the road sign. Seoul, 40 miles. She adjusted the briefcase in both hands. Then she started walking. Across the street, a grey sedan was parked under a tree. Inside it, 2 men watched her. One of them lowered his phone. "The briefcase is with a waitress," a voice replied through the speaker. "Did she open it?" "No." "Where is she taking it?" "Looks like Kang Tower." There was silence. Then the voice said, "Follow her. Do not touch her yet." The man looked through the windshield. "She is walking." Another pause. "Then let her walk." Hannah did not notice the sedan. At first, she counted steps. 100, 200, 500. Then she stopped counting. The briefcase became heavier with every block. Cars passed too close. Wind pushed dust into her eyes. Her shoes were old. The left sole bent badly when she walked. After the first mile, her hand hurt. After the second, her shoulder burned. After the third, she switched hands every few minutes. At a crossing, 2 young men laughed as they passed. "Look at her, carrying rich people's bags now." Hannah kept walking. One of them called after her, "Open it. Maybe your life changes." Her fingers tightened on the handle. She did not look back. At a small roadside store, she stopped and asked for water. The cashier looked at her shoes, then at the briefcase. "Money?" Hannah checked her pocket. 3 coins. The cashier placed a small half bottle on the counter. "That is all." Hannah took it. "Thank you." The cashier looked bored. "Thank you does not make you less poor." Hannah looked at him. She could have answered. She did not. She drank 2 sips and walked out. The grey sedan passed slowly. One man inside said, "She still has not tried to open it." The driver looked at her through the mirror. "Maybe she is stupid." "No," the other man said. "Stupid people open things faster." Hannah walked until the hotel lights were far behind her. The road widened. The city thinned. The air became colder. Her phone died before she reached the highway path. Now there was no map, only the address she had memorized. Kang Tower, Central Seoul. She kept the receipt folded in her sleeve. Every few minutes she touched it to make sure it was still there. A black van slowed near her. The window rolled down. A man inside looked at the briefcase. "Need a ride?" Hannah looked away. "No, it is a long road. I know. Suit yourself." The van drove off. Hannah waited until it disappeared, then continued. Her feet began to ache badly. Her arms shook. The briefcase felt less like leather now, more like stone. At midnight, she reached an underpass. The lights above it flickered. She paused, only for 1 minute. She sat on the low concrete wall and put the briefcase on her knees. The locks shone under weak yellow light. Gold, clean, untouched. There was no name, only the dragon mark. Hannah looked around. No one nearby. No cameras, no witnesses. Her fingers moved toward the lock. She stopped. If there was money inside, no one would know. If there were jewels inside, one piece could change her life. If there were documents inside, they were not hers. That was the problem. They were not hers. She pulled her hand back. No. Her own voice sounded small under the bridge. "It is not mine." A soft clap came from the shadows. Hannah stood so quickly the briefcase almost fell. A man stepped out from behind a pillar. Black coat, leather gloves, calm smile. "Good girl." Hannah held the briefcase against her body. "Who are you?" "Someone who can save you another 30 miles. She looked behind him. Empty road, no help. The man raised one hand. "Relax, I only want the briefcase." "Are you from Kang?" His smile stayed, but his eyes changed. "Does it matter?" "Yes." He took 1 step forward. "It matters less than you think." Hannah stepped back. "I will give it only to him." The man sighed. "You walk too far for a stranger. It belongs to him. Many things belong to men like him. They still lose them." Hannah moved sideways. The man watched her carefully. "Do you know what is inside?" "No." "Then why risk your life?" Hannah swallowed. "Because not knowing does not make stealing right." The man stared at her. For a moment he looked almost amused. Then his face went cold. "Give it to me." "No. Poor girls should not say no to men who can make them disappear." Hannah's breath stopped. The underpass felt smaller. The man reached into his coat. Hannah did not wait. She ran. The briefcase hit her leg with every step through her arms. Her shoes slipped on gravel. Behind her the man cursed. "Stop!" She did not stop. A car horn blasted. She crossed the service lane without looking. A taxi swerved. The driver shouted through the window, "Are you blind?" Hannah kept running. She saw light ahead, a police booth. She ran toward it. The footsteps behind her slowed, then stopped. When she reached the booth, she turned. The man was gone. Inside the booth, an officer slept with his cap over his eyes. Hannah placed one hand on the glass. She could wake him. She could hand over the briefcase. She could say everything. But then what? Report? Questions. Her name, her address, her workplace. And maybe that man would find her before sunrise. She looked at the briefcase, then at the empty road. No police. she whispered. Not because she trusted Shayun Kang, because she trusted no one now. She walked again. The city lights grew brighter after 3 a.m. Seoul rose in the distance. Glass towers, highways, billboards, a world made for people who never counted coins before buying water. Hannah's legs moved slower. Her hands were red. The skin near her fingers had split. The briefcase handle had marked her palms. The grey sedan still followed. The driver said, "Should we take it now?" The man beside him shook his head. "No, let her reach the tower." "Why?" "Because if she reaches him with it, we learn how Kang reacts. And if he protects her," the man looked at Hannah, "then she becomes useful." Near sunrise, Hannah entered the financial district. Workers in clean clothes began filling the sidewalks. Some looked at her. Most looked away. She was too dirty for that part of the city. Dust on her skirt, sweat on her shirt, hair loose around her face, old shoes nearly broken, and in both hands a briefcase that looked richer than everything she owned. Kang Tower stood at the end of the street. Black glass, steel gate, dragon symbol above the entrance. Hannah stopped in front of it. For a moment she forgot the pain. The building was not just tall, it looked untouchable, like it had never heard the word no. She walked toward the gate. A guard stepped in front of her. "Deliveries go around back." Hannah lifted her eyes. "I am not delivery." "Appointment." Her voice cracked. "I need to see Shayun Kang." The guard looked at her dirty shoes and laughed once. "Everyone wants to see Mr. Kang." Hannah lifted the briefcase. He forgot this. The laugh disappeared. The second guard moved closer. "Where did you get that?" "Hotel Café near South Highway." The first guard's hand went to his earpiece. "How did you bring it here?" Hannah answered honestly. "I walked." The second guard frowned. "From South Highway?" "Yes, that is 40 miles. I know." The guards looked at each other. One of them spoke into his earpiece. "We have a situation at the main gate." Hannah's knees almost bent. She forced herself to stand. The briefcase felt like it was pulling her into the ground. A minute later, the gates opened. Not fully. Only enough for her to enter. She walked into the lobby. Everything inside was black marble and glass. Employees stopped talking. Security men turned toward her. A poor waitress stood in the middle of Kang Tower with their boss's briefcase in her hands. Nobody moved. Nobody laughed. A man in a dark grey suit came toward her. Older face. "I am Mr. Kang's security chief." Hannah held out the briefcase. "Please give this to him." The man did not take it immediately. "Did you open it?" "No." "Did anyone touch it?" "No." "Did anyone follow you?" Hannah looked at him. That question was too quick, too specific. "I do not know." His eyes narrowed. "Your name?" "Hannah Kim." Before he could ask more, a private elevator opened. The lobby changed. Not loudly. No one said anything. But every employee straightened. Every guard became still. Shayun Kang walked out. Same black suit. Same cold eyes. But this time his eyes went straight to the briefcase, then to Hannah. He stopped. For the first time since she had seen him, he looked surprised. Not shocked, not afraid. Just surprised enough to be human. Hannah walked forward. Her legs were weak. She held out the briefcase. "You left this at the cafe." Shun took it slowly. His fingers touched the handle. Then he looked at her hands. Red marks, small cuts, shaking fingers. His eyes moved to her shoes, one sole almost torn off, then back to her face. "You brought it here?" "Yes." "How?" Hannah swallowed. "Walking." The lobby stayed silent. Shayun's voice became lower. "From the cafe?" "Yes, that is 40 miles. I know. You could have left it with someone. I did not know who to trust. You could have opened it. It was not mine." His eyes stayed on her for several seconds, long enough for her to feel uncomfortable. Then he asked, "Do you know what is inside?" "No." "You did not want to know." Hannah's tired eyes lifted to his. "I wanted to know many times." A few employees looked at each other. Hannah continued. "But wanting something does not make it yours." Something in Shayun's face changed, only slightly, but his security chief saw it. So did Hannah. The coldness did not leave. It cracked for 1 second. Then the security chief leaned close to Shayun. "Boss, the tracker was disabled." Shayun's eyes hardened. "When?" "Before you entered the cafe." The lobby became colder. Shayun looked at the briefcase, then at Hannah. "Who knew I was going there?" The security chief answered carefully. "Only the inner circle." Hannah took a small step back. "I should go." Shayun looked at her. "No." Her face changed. "I returned it. I did not take anything. I know." "Then why can I not leave?" The security chief glanced toward the entrance. Shayun did not. His eyes stayed on Hannah. "Because whoever wanted this briefcase lost now knows you returned it." Hannah's throat tightened. "I do not understand. You will. I do not want to." For a moment, something like sadness touched his eyes. Then it disappeared. The front doors opened behind her. A young woman entered the lobby. Perfect hair, white suit, diamond earrings, expensive smile. Every guard bowed slightly. The woman stopped when she saw Hannah. Then the briefcase. Her smile faded. Shayun. He did not look pleased. Yuna. Hana noticed the way the woman said his name, like she owned part of it. Yuna walked closer. Her eyes moved over Hana's stained clothes and broken shoes. Who is she? Shayun answered. Someone who returned what others tried to steal. Yuna's gaze sharpened. This waitress? Hana lowered her eyes. Yuna smiled softly. It was not kind. How touching. Shayun said nothing. Yuna looked at the security chief. Was it opened? No. Yuna's eyes flickered. Fast. Almost invisible. But Hana saw it. Relief. Not surprise. Relief. Shayun saw Hana see it. Yuna stepped toward Hana. You walked here. Hana nodded. Yuna laughed quietly. Poor people are so dramatic. Hana's cheeks burned. She said nothing. Yuna leaned closer. You should have left it at the cafe. This world is not for girls like you. Shayun's voice cut through the lobby. Enough. Yuna looked at him. I am only saying the truth. Shayun replied, then say less of it. The lobby went silent again. Yuna's face tightened. Hana looked down. She had been insulted before, many times, but not in a lobby filled with people who looked at her like she was dirt brought in from outside. She held herself still, because if she moved too much, her legs might give out. The security chief's earpiece buzzed. He listened. His face changed. Boss. Shayun turned. What? Grey sedan outside. Same plates reported near the cafe. Hana's body went cold. Shayun looked. Anyone approach you? Hana hesitated. Yuna watched her closely. The security chief repeated. Miss Kim. Hana whispered. Under the bridge. Shayun's face became still. Too still. What happened? A man asked for the briefcase. Name I do not know. Face, black coat, gloves. Calm voice. The security chief cursed under his breath. Yuna's eyes moved toward the glass doors. Again fast. Again Hana saw it. Shayun saw Hana seeing it. The lobby doors suddenly opened. One of Shayun's guards rushed in. Boss, sedan is moving. Shayun gave one order. Stop it. The guard ran back out. Seconds later, tires screamed outside. People in the lobby turned toward the windows. A black car blocked the grey sedan near the gate. Two men jumped out of the sedan. One ran. One reached inside his coat. Shayun moved before anyone else. He grabbed Hana's wrist and pulled her behind him. A gunshot cracked through the morning air. The lobby screamed. Glass shattered near the entrance. Hana dropped to the floor. Shayun stood in front of her, not hiding. Not panicking, just standing between her and the bullet like he had already decided whose life mattered in that second. His guards fired back. The grey sedan crashed into the side barrier. Security flooded the gate. The whole thing ended in less than 30 seconds, but Hana could not breathe. Her ears rang. Her hands shook. Shayun looked down at her. Are you hit? Hana shook her head. She could not speak. He crouched in front of her. For the first time, his voice became almost gentle. Look at me. She looked. Are you hurt? No. Yuna stood behind them, pale but composed. The security chief returned. One dead, one escaped. Shayun's jaw tightened. Find him. Already moving. Hana slowly stood. Her legs nearly failed. Shayun held her arm. She pulled it back, not harshly, just scared. I need to leave. Shayun looked at her. You cannot go back alone. I was alone before I met you. You were not being hunted before you met me. Hana swallowed. The words hit harder than the gunshot. Yuna stepped forward. This is exactly why she should be removed from here. Shayun did not look at her. Removed? She brought trouble. Hana looked up. I brought your briefcase. Yuna's eyes hardened, and now people are shooting outside. Hana's voice trembled, but she did not lower it. They were following me because of what was inside it, not because of who I am. Yuna moved closer. Do not speak to me like that. Hana stepped back. I am not trying to. You poor girls always pretend innocence. Then you create chaos and wait for rich men to save you. The words hit the whole lobby. No one moved. Hana's face went red. Her hands were still shaking from the bullet, but her voice became clear. I did not ask him to save me. Yuna smiled coldly. No, you only walked 40 miles to make sure he noticed you. That hurt. More than the cashier, more than the manager, more than the men laughing on the road. Because this time Shayun was standing there, and everyone was listening. Hana looked at the floor. For a second, it seemed like she would cry. She did not. She lifted her face. If I wanted attention, I would have opened the briefcase in front of cameras. Yuna's smile disappeared. Hana continued. If I wanted money, I would have sold it before sunrise. The lobby stayed silent. If I wanted him, I would not be asking to leave. Shayun looked at her. Hana turned to him. I returned what was yours. That is all. Then she looked at Yuna, and being poor does not make my honesty a trick. Yuna's face turned cold. Shayun's eyes stayed on Hana. The security chief watched his boss carefully. Something had changed. Not outside. Inside Shayun. Yuna saw it too. That made her angry. She stepped closer to Shayun. Let your guards handle her. Shayun finally looked at Yuna. No, she is nobody. His reply came without hesitation. She is the only person in this building I know did not betray me. Yuna froze. Hana froze too. The words landed heavily. Shayun turned to the security chief. Find out who disabled the tracker. Yes, boss. Lock down the tower. Yes. And get Miss Kim food, water, and a doctor. Hannah shook her head. I do not need a doctor. Cheyenne looked at her bleeding hands. You walked 40 miles holding my briefcase. I can still stand. That was not what I asked. She stared at him. He stared back. Neither looked away. Then Hannah said quietly, I do not want charity. Cheyenne's expression did not change. It is not charity. Then what is it? His voice was low. A debt. Hannah said nothing. Cheyenne looked at the broken glass near the entrance, then at the briefcase in his security chief's hand, then back at her. You returned something people were ready to kill for. Hannah's throat tightened. What is inside it? For the first time, Cheyenne did not answer quickly. Yuna looked at him. The security chief looked away. Cheyenne said, names. Hannah frowned. What names? Men who smile beside me. His eyes moved toward Yuna for a fraction of a second, then back to Hannah. Men who want me dead. Hannah's face went pale. The briefcase suddenly felt heavier in her memory. Every mile, every step, every moment under the bridge. She had not carried money. She had carried a death list. Cheyenne stepped closer. And now they know you carried it. Hannah whispered, I should never have picked it up. Cheyenne's voice became quiet. No. She looked at him. You did the one thing they did not expect. What? You stayed honest. Hannah laughed once. It came out broken. And that saved you? Cheyenne looked toward the shattered entrance, then at her bleeding hands. No. He paused. It may have saved me. Hannah had no answer. The cafe manager had called her poor. The cashier had mocked her. Yuna had insulted her. The men on the road had laughed. But Cheyenne Kang, the man the city feared, looked at her like her honesty had more value than his tower. That scared her more than the gunshot, because dangerous men were easy to fear, but dangerous men who started trusting you were harder to escape. The security chief returned after another call. Boss, Cheyenne turned. We found something. What? The man who approached her under the bridge was not from Romano. Yuna's eyes flickered again. Hannah saw it. This time Cheyenne saw Hannah see it before she could hide her reaction. He asked the security chief, then who? The man hesitated. Cheyenne's voice dropped. Say it. The security chief looked at Yuna, then at Cheyenne. He was using an access code from inside Kang Tower. The lobby went cold. Yuna's face did not move, but her fingers tightened around her purse. Hannah felt it then. The real danger was not outside. It was standing in clean clothes, wearing diamonds, smiling like innocence. Cheyenne turned slowly toward Yuna. Interesting. Yuna lifted her chin. Do not look at me like that. I have not looked at you yet. Her smile became thin. You are letting a waitress poison your judgment. Hannah stepped back. I did not say anything. Yuna's eyes snapped to her. You do not need to. Your face is loud enough. Cheyenne moved slightly, not much, just enough to stand between them. Yuna noticed, so did everyone else. For the first time, Hannah understood why people feared him. It was not the guards, not the tower, not the guns. It was how little he had to move to change the air. Cheyenne spoke softly. Miss Kim is tired. She will rest upstairs. Hannah shook her head. No. He looked at her. I am not asking. Her eyes hardened. I am not your employee. A few people held their breath. No one spoke to Cheyenne Kang that way in his own tower, but Cheyenne did not get angry. He almost smiled. Almost. No, he said. You are not. Then I am leaving. If you step outside, they will follow you. They already did, and next time they will not ask for the briefcase. Hannah went silent. The fear returned slowly. Not loud, not dramatic, just cold in her stomach. Cheyenne lowered his voice. I cannot undo what happened, but I can keep them away until I know who sent them. Hannah looked at him. And after that? After that, you can decide whether you still want to walk away. Yuna laughed softly. This is ridiculous and did not look at her. Leave. Yuna stared at him. What? Leave, Yuna. The lobby froze. Yuna's face changed. You are dismissing me for her. Cheyenne's eyes were calm. I am dismissing you because you keep speaking when silence would protect you. Yuna looked like she had been slapped. Hannah lowered her eyes. She only wanted the morning to end. Yuna stepped closer to Cheyenne. You will regret this. Cheyenne finally smiled. It was small. Cold, dangerous. People keep promising me that. Yuna looked at Hannah one last time. Her eyes were full of hate. Then she turned and walked out. The glass doors closed behind her. The lobby stayed silent. Cheyenne turned back to Hannah. You need to sit. Hannah opened her mouth to argue. Her body answered first. Her knees weakened. Cheyenne caught her before she hit the floor. For 1 second, Hannah's forehead touched his chest. She smelled expensive cologne, smoke, rain, and danger. She pulled away quickly. I am fine. Cheyenne looked at her hands. No, you are proud. Hannah whispered. Sometimes that is all poor people have. Cheyenne did not answer, but his face changed again. That small crack in the cold mask returned. Only for a second, then his phone rang. He looked at the screen. His eyes hardened. The security chief said, Boss. Cheyenne answered the call. He listened. No expression, no movement. Then he said one sentence. Put him on speaker. A man's voice came through the phone. Calm, older, amused. Cheyenne Kang, I heard your little waitress made it. Hannah's blood went cold. Cheyenne looked at her. Then at the phone the man continued. 40 miles. Very touching. Cheyenne said nothing. The voice laughed softly, but she should have opened the briefcase. Hannah's hands tightened. Shayun's voice stayed cold. Why? Because then she would know why she is going to die. No one in the lobby moved. The voice became quieter. Check the second lock, Shayun. The call ended. The security chief looked at the briefcase. Shayun opened it with a code. Then the second. Inside were documents, photos, a small black drive, and one white envelope. Shayun picked it up. His name was written on it. Under his name there was another line. For the girl who returns what is not hers. Hannah stopped breathing. Shayun slowly opened the envelope. Inside was one photograph. Hannah standing outside the hotel cafe, holding the briefcase, taken hours ago, before she even started walking. On the back, one sentence was written. She brought you the truth. Now watch her pay for it. Shayun's face went completely still. Hannah could not move. The briefcase was no longer just something he had forgotten. It had been bait, and she had carried it straight into the trap. Shayun looked at the photo, then at Hannah. His voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. From this moment, nobody touches her. The security chief nodded. Yes, boss. Shayun turned toward the shattered glass doors. His eyes were colder than before, but there was something else now. Not fear, not guilt, a promise. Hannah looked at him and whispered, "Why would they do this to me?" Shayun did not lie. "Because you became useful," her eyes filled with fear. He stepped closer. "And because I noticed you." Outside, the morning sun rose over Seoul. Inside Kang Tower, the young Mafia boss stood beside the poor waitress who had walked 40 miles with his briefcase. She had returned it unopened. She had thought the story would end there, but the real story had just begun. Shayun looked at the photograph again. Hannah standing outside the hotel cafe, the briefcase in her hands, the same tired face, the same old shoes, the same girl who had thought she was doing one honest thing. His fingers tightened on the photo. "Who took this?" The security chief answered. "Camera angle is from across the street." Shayun looked toward the broken glass doors. The grey sedan. Hannah stepped back. "So they watched me from the beginning?" No one answered. That was answer enough. Her throat tightened. She looked at the briefcase, then at Shayun. "You did not forget it." Shayun turned to her. "I did." "Then how did they know I would pick it up?" Shayun was silent. Hannah's eyes filled with fear, but her voice stayed steady. "How did they know?" The security chief lowered his gaze. Shayun looked at him. "Speak." The man said, "They did not know she would pick it up. They knew someone honest might." Hannah stared at him. Shayun looked back at the envelope. "They wanted to see who would return it. They wanted to see who I would trust." Hannah's face went pale. "I was bait for you." Shayun's voice was low. "No." She shook her head. "Yes, I carried your trap for 40 miles. I did not set it, but it was your world." The words hit harder than accusation. Shayun did not defend himself. Hannah turned toward the doors. "I need to go." Shayun stepped in front of her. "You cannot. Do not tell me what I cannot do. If you leave now, they will take you. And if I stay, they will use me." Shayun did not answer. Hannah laughed once, broken, tired. "So this is what honesty gets poor people." Shayun looked at her bleeding hands. "No, this is what my enemies do." Hannah looked straight at him. "Same thing to me." The doctor arrived 10 minutes later. Hannah refused the chair. The doctor looked at her hands. "You need bandages." Hannah said, "I need to leave." Shayun stood near the window, silent. His guards had sealed the lobby. Nobody was allowed in or out. The grey sedan had been searched. One body was inside. The other man was gone. The photo had been taken hours before Hannah began walking. That meant someone had watched the cafe before Shayun arrived. Someone knew his route. Someone knew the tracker. Someone knew the tower's access codes. Someone inside. Hannah sat only after her legs gave up. The doctor cleaned her cuts. She did not cry. Not when the alcohol burned. Not when skin opened. Not when the doctor pulled gravel from her palm. Shayun watched. His face stayed cold, but his hand remained closed around the photo. The doctor said, "She needs rest." Hannah replied, "I need my job." The doctor glanced at Shayun. Shayun said nothing. "Hannah, look at him. I answer for myself." The doctor stepped back. "As you wish." Shayun finally spoke. "Your manager fired you." Hannah looked at him. "How do you know?" "He called the tower." "Why?" "To ask if returning my briefcase had a reward." Hannah lowered her eyes. That hurt more than she expected. Shayun added, "He also said you stole time from his cafe." Hannah whispered, "Of course he did." Shayun's jaw tightened. "He will not bother you again." Hannah looked up fast. "Do not ruin his life because of me. He insulted you." "Many people do. That does not make it acceptable. It makes it normal." Shayun looked at her for a long moment. "Not around me." Hannah had no answer. The security chief entered again. "Boss, Yuna left the building." Shayun looked toward him. "Where?" "Her driver says she went home." "Her driver lies for money." "We are checking." Hannah's eyes moved to the briefcase. She knew. Shayun turned to her. "What did you see?" Hannah hesitated. "When they asked if I opened it," she looked relieved. The security chief glanced at Shayun. Shayun's expression did not move. Hannah continued. "When I mentioned the man under the bridge, she looked at the door." "Fear?" "No." Hannah shook her head. timing. Shayun became still. Explain, Hannah said, like she was waiting for someone to do something. The security chief said, Boss, Yuna has access to the tower schedule. Shayun's eyes hardened. And the cafe route, only if someone gave it to her. Hannah looked down. Maybe I should not say anything. Shayun turned toward her. Why? Because she is rich. I am poor. If I am wrong, everyone will believe her. Shayun stepped closer. I am listening to you. Hannah looked at him. That may be your first mistake. No, his voice was calm. My first mistake was thinking betrayal only comes from enemies. A loud alarm sounded from the upper floors. Red lights blinked once, then stopped. The security chief touched his earpiece. His face changed. Server room breach. Shayun moved. Lock all elevators. Already done. Hannah stood. What is happening? Shayun looked at her. Someone is trying to erase the files. Yes. Hannah looked at the briefcase. But you have them here. The drive inside is encrypted. The tower server has the key. The security chief said, Boss, if they erase it now, the drive becomes useless. Shayun took the black drive from the briefcase. Then we go to the server room. The security chief blocked his path. Too exposed. Shayun's voice dropped. Move, Hannah said. I will go. Everyone looked at her. Shayun's eyes narrowed. No, Hannah pointed at her own clothes. Your people are being watched. I am not one of your people. You became one the moment they shot at you. No, I became your problem. Shayun said, there is a difference. Hannah took the drive from the table before anyone could stop her. The guards raised their guns, then froze when Shayun lifted one hand. Hannah looked at him. Where is the server room? You are not going. You said the names matter, not more than your life. Hannah's voice shook, but she did not lower it. My life is already in danger because I returned this. Let me at least make it worth something. Shayun stared at her. The security chief whispered, Boss, she is right. They will expect you. Not her. Shayun's face turned colder. He hated that answer, but he knew it was true. They gave Hannah a staff jacket and a cap. The security chief showed her the service corridor on a tablet. Left at the laundry door. Stairs down 2 floors. Server room needs a code. Hannah asked, What code? Shayun said, My handprint. Hannah looked at him. Then how will I enter? Shayun took a silver ring from his finger. Heavy, black stone. Dragon engraved inside. Hold this near the scanner. It carries emergency clearance. Hannah looked at the ring in her palm. You trust me with this? Shayun replied. You carried more dangerous things all night. Hannah closed her fingers around it. And if I run, you will not. How do you know? Shayun looked at her hands. Because you would have run before sunrise. That silenced her. The security chief gave her a small earpiece. Hannah put it in. Shayun's voice came through. Do not be brave if you do not need to. Hannah almost smiled. You say that like I had choices. Shayun looked at her. This time you do. Come back. Hannah turned away before the words touched too deep. The service corridor smelled of metal and detergent. Hannah walked fast, head down. Her feet screamed with every step. She passed 2 workers pushing linen carts. Neither looked at her. The earpiece crackled. Shayun said, You are approaching the laundry door. Hannah whispered, I see it. Do not whisper unless needed. Cameras pick lip movement. Hannah closed her mouth. She turned left, took the stairs, down 1 floor, down another. At the bottom, the light flickered. She saw the server room door ahead. Black glass, blue scanner. She lifted the ring. The scanner blinked green. The door opened. Cold air hit her face. Rows of servers glowed in the dark. A man stood near the back, pulling a cable from a machine. He turned. Hannah froze. He was the man from the underpass. Black coat gone now. White technician jacket. Same calm eyes. He smiled. You are very hard to discourage. Shayun's voice came through the earpiece. Hannah, leave. The man looked at her ear. He is listening. Took 1 step back. The man raised a gun. Then let him listen. Shayun's voice turned deadly. Touch her and you die slow. The man smiled. You are late, Kang. Hannah's breath shook. The man stepped closer. Give me the drive. Hannah held it behind her back. No. He laughed softly. Still honest, still not yours. His smile faded. You poor girls die for principles rich men sell before breakfast. Hannah looked at him. Then maybe poor girls are richer than you. His face changed. He grabbed her arm. Hannah twisted. Pain shot through her shoulder. The drive fell. It slid under a server rack. The man cursed. Shayun's voice shouted, Hannah! The man shoved her aside and bent for the drive. Hannah saw the open cable. Sparks flickered near the rack. She grabbed the cable and pushed it against the floor panel. The lights burst. The room went black. The man shouted. Hannah dropped to the ground and crawled. Gunfire exploded above her. 1 shot hit metal, another shattered glass. She found the drive with her fingers and closed her fist around it. The emergency lights came on. Red, dim. The man turned toward her. Blood ran from a cut near his eye. He raised the gun. The door burst open. Shayun entered first. No hesitation. No fear. His shot hit the man's shoulder before the man could fire. The gun fell. Shayun crossed the room and kicked it away. His guards flooded in. The man dropped to his knees. Shayun grabbed his collar. Who sent you? The man smiled through pain. She did. Shayun's eyes hardened. Name. The man laughed. You already know. Hannah leaned against the server rack, breathing hard. Shayun turned to her. Are you hit? She shook her head. No. He looked at her arm. Bruised. Red. He touched you. Hannah looked at the man on the floor. I dropped the drive. Shae-yun stared at her. I asked if you were hurt. The drive is safe. Hannah. His voice stopped her. She looked at him. He came closer. You are not a briefcase. Hannah's eyes softened for a second. Then she held out the drive. But this still matters. Shae-yun took it. Their fingers touched. Neither spoke. The security chief checked the server. Key is intact. We can open the files. Shae-yun looked at the man on the floor. Take him downstairs. The man smiled at Hannah as guards lifted him. You should have kept walking, waitress. Shae-yun stepped in front of her. Speak to her again and you lose your tongue. The man's smile disappeared. Back in the private office, the files opened. Names filled the screen. Board members, guards, drivers, lawyers, politicians, and one name near the middle. Yuna Park. Hannah read it quietly. She really did. Shae-yun did not react. That made it worse. The security chief said she funded the route leak. She gave tower access. She arranged the cafe trap. Shae-yun looked at the screen. Why? There is a second file. The chief opened it. A video appeared. Yuna sitting across from an older man in a private room. The older man's face was hidden, but his voice was clear. If Shae-yun dies, the Kang Empire splits. You get the legal side. I get the ports. Yuna replied. And the waitress? The older man said, if she returns the briefcase, we use her. If she opens it, we kill her and blame Kang. Either way, he bleeds. Hannah felt sick. She stepped back. Shae-yun turned the screen off. The room became silent. Hannah whispered, they planned my death before they knew my name. Shae-yun said, now I know theirs. The security chief looked at him carefully. Boss, orders, Shae-yun said. Bring Yuna. Alive? Shae-yun looked at Hannah. She was staring at the dark screen. Her face was pale, but her eyes were not weak. He turned back. Alive. Yuna was brought in before sunset. Not dragged, not screaming. She walked in wearing a pale blue dress, hair perfect, mouth calm. 2 guards stood behind her. She looked at Shae-yun first, then Hannah. Still here? Hannah said nothing. Yuna smiled. Of course, poor girls know when to stay near power. Shae-yun's voice was quiet. Sit. Yuna laughed softly. You are being dramatic. Sit. This time she sat. Shae-yun placed the printed file on the desk. Yuna looked at it. Her smile faded for half a second, then returned. Fake. Shae-yun said, your access code opened the server level. Codes can be stolen. Your account moved money to the men who followed her. Accounts can be hacked. Your voice is on video. Yuna leaned back. Voices can be copied. Hannah looked at her. Does your heart get copied too? Yuna's eyes snapped to her. You should be quiet. Hannah stepped forward. Her hands were bandaged now, her face still tired, but her voice was clear. You called me dramatic because I walked 40 miles, but you built a whole murder plan because one man did not love you. The room went still. Yuna stood slowly. You know nothing, Hannah said. I know you were relieved when I said I did not open the briefcase. Yuna's face hardened. You saw too much for a waitress. No. Hannah looked at Shae-yun. I saw what honest people see when liars think they are invisible. Shae-yun's eyes stayed on Yuna. Yuna laughed, but it sounded broken. You believe her? Shae-yun answered. She walked 40 miles with my enemy's trap and did not open it. You stood beside me for years and sold my death. Yuna's eyes filled with anger. Because you never saw me. Shae-yun's voice stayed cold. I saw enough. No, you saw power, loyalty. Perfect family name, perfect partner. But one poor waitress bleeds in your lobby and suddenly she is truth. Shae-yun said nothing. Yuna pointed at Hannah. She is nothing. Shae-yun's reply was immediate. Then why were you afraid of her? Yuna froze. Hannah felt the room shift. Shae-yun continued. You were not afraid of her beauty, not her status. She has none of the things you respect. You were afraid because she did one thing you cannot fake. Yuna's mouth tightened. Shae-yun said. She stayed clean. For the first time, Yuna lost control. Clean? She snapped. Do you think this empire was built clean? Do you think your father was clean? Do you think your guards are clean? You sit in black suits and talk about loyalty while every wall here is paid for by fear. Shae-yun looked at her without blinking. That may be true. Yuna smiled. Finally. Shae-yun stepped closer. But today a girl with nothing carried my truth farther than everyone with everything. Yuna's smile died. Shae-yun looked at the security chief. Send the files to the prosecutor. The chief stared at him. Boss, all of them. Yuna's face changed. You cannot. Shae-yun said. I can. You will destroy yourself. No, his eyes turned colder. I will destroy what made people like you possible. Yuna stepped toward him. For her, Shae-yun looked at Hannah. Because of her, Hannah's breath caught. Not romantic, not soft, something heavier. Respect. Yuna saw it and laughed bitterly. You will regret saving her. Shae-yun replied, I regret not knowing her sooner. The next hour changed the Kang Empire. Files were sent. Accounts frozen. Corrupt guards arrested inside the tower. Board members tried to run. Doors locked before they reached the elevators. News vans gathered outside before night. The city started whispering. Shae-yun Kang, the untouchable Mafia boss, had exposed his own network. Hannah watched from the private office window. Why are you doing this? Shae-yun stood beside her. Because you returned the briefcase. That is not enough reason. It was. She looked at him. You are losing power. Shayun answered. Power that depends on betrayal is already lost. Hannah turned back to the window. People will blame me. They will try. Yuna will. Yuna is finished. People like her are never finished. Then I will be ready. Hannah's voice became quiet. I do not want your life. He looked at her. I know. I do not want your money. I know. I do not want people thinking I did this for you. Shayun was silent for a moment, then said, What do you want? Hannah looked down at her bandaged hands. To go home and sleep without someone following me. Shayun's expression changed. You will. When? He looked toward the city. When I make sure the last man who knows your face cannot reach you. Hannah laughed softly. That sounds like a Mafia answer. Shayun looked at her. I am a Mafia man. She met his eyes, then becomes something else. The words stayed between them. Shayun did not answer, but he did not reject them either. Yuna made one final move at midnight. She escaped custody during transfer with help from 2 remaining loyal guards. The security chief stormed into Shayun's office. Boss, Yuna is gone. Shayun turned from the window. Where? Old Port Warehouse. Hannah stood. Why would she go there? Shayun's face hardened. Because that is where the hidden accounts are stored. The chief said, if she gets the backup drive, she can disappear. Shayun picked up his coat. Hannah stepped forward. I am coming. No, she will use me anyway. Not if you stay here. That is what you said before the server room. Shayun turned to her. This is different. Hannah's voice grew stronger. No, this is the same. Rich people decide. Poor people get trapped. I am tired of being moved like evidence. Shayun looked at her for a long moment. You will stay behind me, Hannah replied. I walked 40 miles in front of death. I can stand behind you for 10 minutes. The security chief almost smiled. Shayun did not. Stay close. The port warehouse was dark when they arrived. Rain had started. Not heavy, just enough to shine on the ground. Containers stood like black walls. Shayun's guards moved silently. Hannah stayed behind Shayun, wearing a dark coat over her Café uniform. Her hands hurt, her feet hurt, but fear kept her awake. Inside the warehouse, one light burned above an old table. Yuna stood beside it. The backup drive was in her hand. 2 guards stood near her. One held a gun. Yuna smiled when she saw Hannah. You brought her. Shayun said, put it down. Yuna lifted the drive. This can still save me. No, it can destroy you. Maybe. Yuna's eyes narrowed. You are really willing to burn your empire, Shayun replied. It burned the moment it made her a target. Do you hear that? He thinks you are worth an empire. Hannah stepped forward slightly. Shayun's hand moved to stop her, but she looked at him once. He let her speak. Hannah said, no, he thinks his empire was not worth what it became. Yuna's smile faded. Hannah continued, you keep trying to make this about me because you cannot face what you did. Yuna's eyes filled with hate. I did what powerful people do. Hannah answered, no, you did what empty people do. Yuna raised her hand and the guard lifted his gun. Shayun moved in front of Hannah. Yuna laughed, again, always protecting her. Shayun's voice was calm. Last warning. Yuna looked at him. Or what? Shayun did not answer. The lights went out. Gunshots cracked. Hannah dropped behind a crate. Shayun's guards moved through the darkness. Someone shouted. Someone fell. Hannah heard footsteps running toward her. She grabbed a metal rod from the floor. A man appeared around the crate. Hannah swung with both hands. The rod hit his wrist. His gun fell. He cursed. Hannah backed away. Shayun appeared behind him and struck him down. He looked at Hannah. Are you hurt? She breathed hard. Ask me after this is over. He almost smiled. Then Yuna ran. Hannah saw her first. Yuna was heading toward the side exit with the backup drive. Hannah ran after her. Shayun shouted, Hannah! She did not stop. Yuna pushed through the door into the rain. Hannah followed. The port wind hit her face. Yuna turned near the edge of the dock. Stay away from me. Hannah stopped several feet away. Give him the drive. Yuna laughed. Still returning things that are not yours, Hannah said. This one is not yours either. Yuna's hand shook. You ruined everything. No, you did. I had a place beside him. Then why did you try to kill him? Yuna's eyes filled with tears and rage. Because he would never choose me. Hannah's voice became softer. So you chose to become someone he could never trust. Yuna screamed and rushed toward her. Hannah tried to move, but her injured feet slipped on the wet dock. Yuna grabbed her coat and pushed her toward the edge. Hannah caught the railing. The drive fell between them. Yuna reached for it. Hannah stepped on it first. Yuna slapped her hard. Pain flashed across Hannah's face. Poor trash, Yuna hissed. You think honesty makes you special? Hannah held the railing and looked at her. No. She bent, picked up the drive and held it tight. But it made you afraid. Yuna lifted her hand again. Shayun's voice stopped her. Touch her again and you will never use that hand. Yuna froze. Shayun stood in the rain, gun lowered but ready. His face was calm, terrifying. Yuna looked from him to Hannah, then she laughed through tears. You really chose her. Shayun said, I chose the truth. Police sirens sounded in the distance. Yuna looked trapped for the first time. She stepped back. You called police? Shayun answered. I sent them everything. You are finished. Shayun looked at Hannah. Maybe. Then he looked back at Yuna, but not like you. The police arrived with prosecutors. Cameras and armed units. Yuna was arrested at the dock. She did not look at Shayun when they took her. She looked at Hannah. He will destroy you too. Hannah said nothing. Shayun stepped beside her. Yuna smiled bitterly. Waitress, men like him do not become good. They only become gentle for a while. Hannah's face stayed tired but calm. Then I will not depend on his gentleness. Yuna's smile cracked. The officers took her away. The rain grew softer. Hannah handed the backup drive to Shayun. Here. He looked at it, then at her. You could have kept it. Hannah almost laughed. You still asking that? No, his voice lowered. I just wanted to hear your answer again. Hannah placed it in his hand. It was not mine. Shayun closed his fingers around it. No, he looked at her. But the choice was yours. For a moment, neither moved. The port lights reflected in the rain. Hannah's cheek was red from Yuna's slap. Her hands were bandaged. Her shoes were destroyed. Shayun took off his coat and placed it around her shoulders. She started to object. He said, not charity. Hannah looked at him. Debt. He shook his head. Respect. She did not remove it. 3 weeks later, Kang Tower no longer looked untouchable. News channels spoke about arrests, resignations, hidden accounts, and criminal networks. Shayun Kang gave one public statement. No smile, no excuse. Fear built parts of my empire. Fear will not decide its future. Reporters shouted questions. He answered only one. Why expose your own organization? Shayun looked at the cameras. Because one person with nothing reminded me what ownership means. Hannah watched the statement from a small staff room at a new cafe, not the hotel cafe. That manager had been fired by his own owners after trying to sell the Briefcase story to reporters. Shayun had not ruined him. His greed had done it faster. Hannah worked now at a quiet community cafe near the financial district. She refused Shayun's money, refused a luxury apartment, refused bodyguards inside the cafe. She accepted only one thing, a safe route home. Shayun arranged it without making it look like protection. Hannah knew anyway. One evening, the cafe bell rang. Hannah looked up. Shayun entered alone. No guards inside. No black suit, dark jacket, simple shirt. Still dangerous, just less distant. Hannah poured coffee before he asked. Black, he sat at table 7. She looked at him. You chose that table on purpose. Maybe. Mafia bosses are dramatic. Former mafia boss. Hannah raised an eyebrow. Former. Shayun looked at his coffee. Trying. Hannah studied him. Trying is not the same as changing. He looked up. I know. That answer surprised her. She placed the cup down. What do you want? Shayun took a folded paper from his jacket. A receipt. Hannah frowned. He placed it on the table. The old hotel cafe receipt. The one with his name and address. The one Hannah had carried in her sleeve for 40 miles. She stared at it. You kept it. The security chief found it in your jacket after the doctor treated you. You stole my receipt. Preserved evidence. Hannah almost smiled. That sounds like a mafia excuse. Former mafia excuse. She shook her head, but the smile came anyway. Small, tired. Real? Shayun slid the receipt toward her. On the back he had written one line. Thank you for returning what was not yours and showing me what was mine. Hannah read it twice. Her throat tightened. What was yours? Shayun looked at her. The choice to stop. Hannah did not speak. The cafe was quiet around them. Rain touched the windows softly. Like the night everything began. Hannah folded the receipt carefully. I still do not want your money. I know. I still do not want your world. I am trying to leave it. And me? Shayun's eyes stayed on hers. I want you to choose without fear. Hannah looked away first, not because she was weak, because the answer mattered. I walked 40 miles because I thought returning the briefcase would end the problem. Shayun waited. Hannah continued. But it started something. Yes, something dangerous. Yes, something I did not ask for. His voice became quiet. I know. Hannah looked at him again. Then do not ask me for anything today. Shayun accepted it with a nod. I will not. He stood. May I come for coffee again? Hannah looked at table 7, then at him. Coffee is not charity. No, you will pay full price. For the first time, Shayun Kang smiled like a man who had been given more than permission. Always. 6 months later, people still told the story wrong. Some said a poor waitress walked 40 miles for a reward. Some said she opened the briefcase and blackmailed a mafia boss. Some said Shayun Kang fell in love because she saved his life. Hannah never corrected them all. The truth was simpler. She had found something that was not hers. She returned it. That choice nearly got her killed, but it also forced the most feared man in Seoul to look at the empire around him and see the blood on its walls. The old briefcase was kept behind glass in Shayun's new community center, not as a symbol of power, as a warning. Gold locks, dragon mark, scratched handle. Beside it was a small note written in Hannah's handwriting. It was not mine, so I returned it. Shayun stood beside her at the opening ceremony. Reporters asked for a photo. Hannah said no. Shayun said no before she finished saying it. She looked at him. You are learning, he replied slowly. Outside the city moved like always. Cars, rain, lights, people rushing past each other without knowing which honest choice might change their lives. Hannah looked at the briefcase one last time. Shayun asked, do you regret picking it up? She thought about the road, the pain, the insults, the gunshot. Yuna, the trap. Then she looked at him. Sometimes Shayun nodded. That is fair. Hana smiled faintly. But I would still return it. Shayun's eyes softened. Why? Hana gave the same answer that had started everything. Because it was not mine. Shayun looked at the briefcase, then at her, and because of that I found something that was. Hana asked, what? He did not say love. Not yet. Not like a movie. Not like a promise too heavy for a girl who had already carried enough. He only said, a reason to become better. Hana, she took one step toward the door. Come on, former Mafia boss. Shayun followed. Where? Coffee. At table 7? Hana smiled. No, today you clean tables. Shayun stopped. I own the building. Hana looked back, and I walked 40 miles. He paused, then picked up a cloth from the counter. Hana laughed softly. Shayun Kang, once the most feared man in Seoul, cleaned table 7 while the poor waitress who had changed his life watched with a smile. And outside, rain began falling gently against the windows, no longer sounding like danger. This time it sounded like a beginning.